video a practical approach on how to is the number one cause of diabetes. Treating it means treating for so many people. Not to mention that this diet is also going to greatly help losing weight and controlling cholesterol levels and high blood pressure, some of the most serious risk factors for it. Now, some good news. It was believed for a long time that people who suffered from for 6 years or more couldn't go into remission. Thanks to this new study, it's finally proven that even who had this for 11 years can reverse it.
No, I'm not kidding.
And it's not just that. In this study, we're able to go into remission from in just 3 months just by following one of the easiest and most effective diets out there, intermittent fasting. You see, intermittent fasting, IF in short, is my go-to diet when I need to lose some weight. It really works and it's so easy to implement. However, you need to know exactly what you are doing before you start this diet. Doing IF wrong or for too long may even cause. So today, we are going to see how to start a diet that really works from a practical point of view. Before that, a very important question. What's new about intermittent fasting? This study published on the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism is showing that by following a diet based on IF, 17 out of 36 with type 2 were able to achieve remission from diabetes in just 3 months. Remission from diabetes means that the patient has HbA1c level of less than 6.5% for at least 3 months after discontinuing all antibiotics. Now, these 17 people who went into remission were monitored for the following 12 months and only one of them relapsed. And that's also amazing because we all know how hard it is to keep the improvements once we stop a diet. And the fact that 16 out of 17 were able to keep their improved sugar levels for 1 year at least after stopping the diet is another proof of the effectiveness of IF. Now, the most interesting part, nearly 2/3 of the participants who went into remission had for more than 6 years. It was believed that people can only achieve remission if they've had for 6 years or less, and this study proves, on the other hand, that someone who had for way longer than that can also go into remission. Now, before seeing how to implement this diet, we need to address the possible dangers of IF. Intermittent fasting can really help, but it also comes with certain dangers we should be aware of, so we can avoid them. You see, the risk of hypoglycemia or too low sugar levels is pretty high for people with diabetes when doing IF. And there's also a large body of evidence linking skipping meals and IF to more incidents of, especially but not just in people with. A different study even found a link between the number of breakfasts someone makes per week and CKD incidents. Here's what they found out. Participants having less than 15 meals per week and not having breakfast often were more at risk of developing. Researchers motivated these findings by indicating several studies that already link low meal frequency and skipping breakfast with an increased risk of. They also remarked that spending too much time in a fasted state and without drinking water are also causes of. So, does that mean that intermittent fasting is bad for you? Well, not necessarily. You see, intermittent fasting is not the same as skipping meals. Intermittent fasting is a dietary tool, a way to lose weight, and it only helps if it's used to restrict caloric intake in a controlled and well-planned way, which is what we are going to do today. On the other hand, if we fast for too long, maybe because we're too busy to eat and drink water and without restricting caloric intake, well, we may incur in the risk of damaging the kidney. So don't do that. Time now to see how to set up an IF diet that actually works. And most important, that it is safe for people with. As usual, my recommendation here is to consult a doctor before making any change to your diet. So let's see how you can set up this diet. There are several different versions of IF. Most used include the 16 to 8 plan. Someone following this diet will eat all their meals in an 8-hour window during the day. Then they would fast for 16 hours. During fasting, any non-caloric beverage such as plain tea or coffee is allowed, and water is obviously encouraged. This is a diet I've personally used, and it's pretty easy to follow. For example, you could choose to eat only from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. This way, you would only avoid breakfast and keep all the other meals the same. Easy, isn't it? Other popular ways to implement this diet include eating only from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. or from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And this is an extremely easy diet to implement because you will just be cutting calories without changing your macros, the percentage of nutrients you get from carbs, fats, and protein. Also, depending on how much you will need to restrict calories, you can do the 16 to 8 plan even just once or twice per week. Some people do this every day, and that would work, but only for a short period. Let's say 2 or 3 months. More than that, and there could be more risks, as we have seen. So as I was saying, this is a diet that I personally use and that absolutely works. I'll also show you in the end of the video my favorite hack to make this diet even more effective. Now, this is not the type of intermittent fasting they use to reverse diabetes in 3 months. What they use is a modified version of the 5 to 2 plan. What is the 5 to 2 plan? Someone following a 5 to 2 plan would eat just 500 to 600 calories for 2 days a week and then eat normally for the other 5. Now, a 5 to 2 plan is a little more difficult to implement in my opinion than a 16 to 8 because it requires more planning. Your dietitian will need to set up a totally different diet for the days in which you only eat 500 or 600 calories. That's because 500 to 600 calories are really not a lot for a whole day. I mean, a Big Mac alone is 550 calories. To give you an example, and during one of the 2 fasting days, you will get the same amount of calories, but for the whole day, and possibly from healthy foods. But the other 5 days a week will be unrestricted, and that's what makes this diet easy to follow and effective. Now let's take a look at the diet they actually use in the study that reversed in 3 months. So for 3 months, participants followed 6 cycles of 15 intervention days. The 15 days were divided as follows: 5 modified fasting days and 10 free days. During the modified fasting days, participants will eat 840 calories a day, so a little bit more than what you will get in a 5 to 2 plan. But they have to do that for 5 days in a row. That was followed by 10 days without any restrictions. Now, this whole cycle was repeated for 6 times. So 5 days on, 10 days off, repeat 6 times, and then it was over. 17 out of 36 participants got out of diabetes just by doing this for 3 months. They also lost a lot of weight and improved many of their lab values. No modification of their exercising routine or lifestyle was involved. Now, it's also worth mentioning that during this study, participants were assigned 3 pre-made meals for the modified fasting days that you can see on screen. They had to eat exactly what you see here at a fixed time of the day. No, I don't recommend following this exact diet to someone with kidney disease, however. My recommendation is to set up your own diet with your dietitian. And that's all. Now, I also want to add a tip that really worked for me. A diet hack. My personal tip is, try to combine exercising with IF. I love doing this because when you are fasting, the body doesn't have any stored carbohydrates, known as glycogen, to use to produce energy. Now, the only thing your body can burn to fuel your workout is body fat. And that makes dieting way more effective. This is supported by science, by the way. And it's also a win-win situation because it makes progressing a lot easier and faster, so you can reduce the duration of the diet. Just don't overdo it, especially if you have diabetes. When fasted, exercising sessions should be shorter and less intense than what you are used to. Remember that if you feel too weak to work out from fasting, you should take care of your nutrition and work out later. So what I usually do is skipping breakfast only 1 or 2 times a week and do a light cardio workout during that fasted period. And it works! Now guys, if you want to see more hacks to quickly improve your kidney health, my recent video up here may be interesting for you. And this is all for today. Thank you for watching. God bless!